Rudy Gobert hit a 15-foot jump shot last night, and I'm telling you, I was really excited. I have not seen Rudy do that. We have talked about this for years on this show, that the moment that Rudy Gobert finds a 15-footer, it's over. Well, last night against, again, Milwaukee, it was the Bucks. Okay, cool. In the preseason, all right, cool. I don't care. It was a 15-foot jump shot, Jake, and that is incredibly impressive to me.
Yeah, and he took it in rhythm, and that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for Rudy to be able to just opportunistically make a 15-foot jump shot. It doesn't have to be something that he's got a target in his game necessarily, but if you look at the way that particular play kind of unraveled, the ball comes in from Rudy's left, right? It comes off the wing from Rudy's left, and I think it was Jared Butler just kind of hands it off to him. And what does Rudy do? Okay, you're going to give me space. I'm going to rise up, take that shot, and knock it down. And it was pure, too, by the way. Give the guy credit. I mean, that shot looked really good. And so I think, I mean, I wouldn't expect him to be taking 10 of those a game, certainly, but I would love to see Rudy knock down, with his usual 30, 35 minutes a night, starters minutes. I'd love to see him knock down 5 or 6 of those, opportunistically when the play dictates it. Don't be afraid to take that shot. And I think, the thing that gets me excited about that, number one, is it really changes things on offense for the Jazz, because if Rudy is in a place offensively where the guy defending him has to at least respect that jumper a little bit, you're obviously not going to play, really tight defense on Rudy offensively, but if you got to respect that a little bit, even that extra step away from the basket could be the difference between somebody getting a wide open layup and having to make a contested layup. And for the Jazz, all those buckets matter. So when I saw that, that's just all I was thinking about. I was like, okay, if he's featuring this in the preseason a little bit, what does it look like for the regular season? Could this be something like a new trend for Rudy? So it was definitely exciting.
Well, and I think the other thing that was very clear was there was an effort to get Rudy the ball. There was an effort to put him in positions where he was going to be able to display that. Because whether it goes in or not, Rudy just needs to make people believe that it's going to go in, or that he's capable of making that jumper, because that's what really changes the game for the Utah Jazz. Now, Rudy did not show the ability to put the ball on the floor and get to the basket. He turned it over twice doing that. But this is a huge step forward out of Rudy. I mean, this is something that we have talked about in terms of how important it is that Rudy be able to contribute on offense. He has to be something other than a guy who simply catches alley-oops and lobs. He is a phenomenal offensive rebounder, but the issue there is that, hey, his best offensive games historically have been when the Jazz don't shoot well and he's cleaning up second chance opportunities on missed three-pointers. And that's not ideal for this club. Now, having said that, Rudy Gobert's never going to be 17 of 20 from 15 feet in a game, right? I mean, you're not needing that. If he is 2 of 3, 3 of 5, that's beautiful. That's perfect. That's the maximum you ever need here. So I want to, again, say the bar is awfully low for Rudy Gobert to contribute on offense. You don't need this guy to score 20 points on 10, 15-foot jump shots, right? Like, that's not what's ideal for this team.
Mm-hmm.
What's ideal for this team is that he's given more space and that his defender has to be within shot, contesting range. So what's behind that defender, if Rudy's at the elbow or the top of the key, that there's more space behind Rudy's guy so that other guys can run the baseline, and maybe Rudy drops off a pass instead of hitting a jumper. Maybe Rudy finds a dribble drive game that is effective where he can get to the basket and get fouled. It just opens up another world of pick and pop instead of pick and lob. It's huge. It's critical. It's massive. It turns this Jazz team into a far more balanced offense when Rudy Gobert can hit just a simple 15-foot jump shot. And Jake, I hope I'm not making too much of this, but it gives me real hope that this team can take a step beyond where they were last year.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would help. I think, one of the best points you made there is last night there was a conceded effort to get him the ball. And I think, we talked about this a lot in last year's postseason that, there were times where this team just went away from feeding Rudy the ball. And we talked all about how Mike Conley being out really, really hurt how much ball Rudy was getting. And so I think to see last night that it was a clear game plan and mission to get Rudy Gobert the ball in good situations was great to see. And I think, for all those people who say, well, Quinn didn't make any adjustments or Quinn's not a good coach or blah, 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 like that's the kind of thing where I want to say here, you're seeing it now. You're seeing the adjustment. You're seeing Quinn is saying, okay, we've got a defensive player of the year in our starting five, right? We've got a guy who can really be dynamic on defense and save us a lot of buckets. But now we got to figure out how to make him an asset instead of a liability on offense. And the way you do that is you get him going early. And I particularly think, too, to be honest, we all know how much of a home court advantage the Viv is. And I just personally believe that if you get, to start out a game, like next Wednesday against OKC, you start out that game, why would you not just try to feed Rudy 5 or 6 easy dunk opportunities to get the crowd into it and then feed off that energy? If I'm Quinn Snyder, I'm thinking about that. I'm like, man, let's get the momentum going early. This is our home opener. Let's get the vibes going, and then at that point, let's start knocking down threes and getting into our normal game flow. So overall, I just think that Rudy has been a villain, but Rudy also has the opportunity, if he's put in the right positions, to be a hero for this team. And I think if he's going to start making that 15-footer, this team can go places. Now, that said, on the other side of the coin, it was one 15-footer, right? So let's not say that he's all of a sudden got a reliable jump shot. Let's see if he can start making, as you were saying, 3 out of 5, or, at most, I would think he'd get 6 attempts a game, but I would think that's probably going to be 2 to 4 attempts a game.
That'd be unbelievable.
Yeah.
If Rudy's taking 6 jumpers a game, that's too much.
Yeah.
But I'm thrilled for the guy. I mean, this is something that Rudy has worked on. This is something that is meaningful to Rudy Gobert. I'm really happy for him because he's taken a lot of heat. And you only think about the money when you sign a contract that pays you $41 million a year. You really don't think about everything else that comes with that. You don't think about the heat, the expectations. You don't think about the focus that is put on you because of the money that you're making. Well, now I think Rudy Gobert is figuring out pretty quick that when you're one of the top paid guys in the NBA, you better perform like that. And when you don't, you're going to take a heck of a lot more blame than a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who's outperforming you on a nightly basis. Now, granted, they play different positions, whatever, but perception's reality. Rudy Gobert took a hell of a lot of blame for that Clippers series last year. If he comes out and he's hitting 15-foot jumpers, this is now a guy that is lethal. This is now a guy that's making a huge difference for the Utah Jazz. And I'm telling you, this is one of those moments where you look at Rudy Gobert and you just need, applaud, stand up, standing ovation. It's that big of a moment that Rudy Gobert hit a 15-foot jump shot. And I'm not even being sarcastic. I think this is one of those times where you're going to say, yeah, I remember when Rudy hit that first one in the preseason against, who was that? Milwaukee, I think. Yeah, that's when we knew that, he had really worked on his game that summer. That's exactly what this does, and I'm thrilled for the guy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. And I think that the Jazz, I feel like are in a good place. I think, some other things that I saw last night around, Rudy hitting that jumper were, I actually was pretty happy overall with what I saw from the Jazz. I think Jared Butler is more than ready to be a nightly contributor. I think the guy has a ton of confidence. I think he's controlling the offense when he's out there, like he's telling guys where to be, and I think that's great. I think a big question mark is Bogey. I think Bogey looked pretty damn good last night. However, I do think there is a lot of hesitation.
You really think he looked good?
Yeah, I felt like he looked good, specifically in the second quarter in the transition game. I felt like when he rolled up twice, he did it where they were in transition, specifically the one where he was on the left side of the floor, walks right up into the three and knocks that down, and then and then on the right hand side, he also took another one and he looked comfortable. I do agree with you. You kind of brought up that, yeah, he was icing his shoulder and his wrist and, he's maintaining his body. Yeah, and I think, like we talked about yesterday, the age thing is going to be a real thing this season for the Utah Jazz. I think we're going to see them be aggressive with maintaining guys.
Yeah, I am not. I have some concerns about Bogey's game. I mean, Bogdan Bogdanovic, as I said yesterday on the show, so not to be redundant, But Bojan Bogdanovic is a critical performer for this team. He has to play well if this team's going to win on a consistent and at a high level. Bojan Bogdanovic, in my opinion, has to be in the middle of it. But the issue is that when you see what he's trying to do, Bojan is trying to be a dribble drive guy. That's not his game. His game is, hey, there's a guy running at me. I have the ball in the corner. There's a guy running at me on a three. I just need to dribble once, sidestep that, and shoot my three. Because when he goes to the basket off the bounce, he's turning the ball over more times than not. And the thing that I have concern for is that largely this rotation's going to be the same. Now, one of the things that I'm really excited about is the physicality that this team has that last year's club never had. I think Eric Paschall is a guy that we saw is capable of banging bodies and pissing people off. And I think that's a real important attribute. But Bojan Bogdanovic muscling up on guys on the post is not something I'm that excited about. If 1 out of every 15 possessions you throw him the ball, 20 possessions in the block, okay, I can deal with that. This cannot be a guy who passes up three-pointers and tries to get to the basket. That is not his game. That's never going to be his game. He is he essentially is a 12-year-old dog who's not going to be able to change his stripes. Like, this is who this guy is. He is an elite three-point shooter, and he's a guy who occasionally can get on the block and bang bodies. Let's not try to make him do things that he's not capable of or comfortable of. That's a real concern for me. Other than that, all I've seen this preseason is development and growth from this Jazz team. And I think that is really exciting. I think when you look at the way Donovan Mitchell's playing, he didn't shoot the ball particularly well in the preseason, but you can see that the game has evolved a little more. He's a little more bouncy. He's a little more, I feel like Donovan's a little more explosive this year than he was last year. Obviously, we've talked about Rudy's evolution. One of the things that still concerns me, the defense on this team has not gotten better. I see a situation where, and oddly, we talked about this on the show yesterday as well.
And we rolled it right out.
You have the NBA champions, the Milwaukee Bucks, come into your house and absolutely bully Rudy Gobert on the block. Giannis Antetokounmpo did not hesitate to put a shoulder into the larynx of Rudy Gobert.
Yep.
And he attacked his chest and his shoulders, and he got to the basket 2-3 times doing it. The other issue is that Milwaukee very clearly tactically planned to switch Rudy Gobert in pick and rolls, and they did it masterfully. And it allowed guys like Pat Connaughton and Brook Lopez to have open looks in the corner. And it's that one particular corner, that one set, either corner, but that one particular set that gets you an open look in the corner where, hey, there's a switch. Rudy's in no man's land. We're going to drive. Rudy sags to the basket, kick to the corner, wide open three. The Jazz are going to have to figure out how to defend that because that is their Achilles heel defensively.
Yep.
Rudy is a guy that's a shot blocker. Shot blockers are always going to be susceptible to the attack in close range. Okay, we can deal with that. If you're going to body up Rudy Gobert, you're going to lose that probably 6 or 10 times. Okay, cool. I'm good with that. I'm not good with continuing to let Rudy Gobert's guy fade to the corner and shoot threes because that's what beat you against the Clippers. And frankly, they're going to have to figure out how to defend that.
Yeah, I completely agree. 100%. And I think, what you saw with Giannis against Rudy is what you're going to see a lot more, I think, this year in the league. And I think this is kind of what we discussed yesterday with Rudy. Like, it's not that Rudy is such an intimidating force. It really depends who he's playing. So if you're playing Giannis doesn't care who he's playing. He's going to bully him and get to his spot, right? So that's not necessarily a Rudy issue. But I think when Rudy is playing, a team like, let's say the Lakers, and somehow the Lakers find a way to get LeBron switched on to Rudy, that's going to be an awkward situation, or any other team that you look at. So I just think overall, the defense, it's what they always say, man. Honestly, it's what they always say. Defense wins championships.
That's right.
It's how the Bucks got past the Nets. It's how the Bucks got past the Suns. Like they play great defense, and I think that this Jazz team is going to have to find their way defensively if they want to get to the Western Conference Finals and ultimately play for a championship.
Well, and one of the other things I think we need to talk about that we probably don't talk about enough across all of sports, I think, is that Quinn Snyder's also has to develop. I mean, Quinn Snyder has done, I think, a very good job with this team. I think that Quinn has been an above average, above wins over whoever would replace him coach. But he also has to grow. And whether we're talking about Rudy Gobert's jump shot, whether we're talking about Donovan Mitchell developing a really consistent, lethal mid-range game, or whether we're talking about Bogdan Bogdanovic and the highest best use for Bogey, Quinn Snyder has to have a better season this year than he had last year. And I think, hey, what is Trent Forrest going to become on this team? Now, he's dealing with a concussion. Okay, that's cool. I get it. But Trent Forrest has a skill set that can play in the NBA. Can he play on this Jazz team? And I don't know the answer to that yet. I don't know that right now he has a place. I think Jared Butler certainly has taken minutes away from Trent Forrest.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's no doubt about
question.
that. Because I also think Jared Butler has been very good, as you mentioned in the preseason. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
And at times he's forced it, but he's a rookie in the preseason trying to cut his teeth. That's not a problem. But when he gets comfortable in the NBA, at the NBA level with his game, Jared Butler is going to be a problem. And not only is it going to be a problem for the opponent, he's going to be a problem for guys like Oni and Forrest. And
he's going to be a problem for this team in the rotation because he's going to push him so damn hard.
Yeah. And I think if you're Trent Forrest, and the hard part about talking about the Jazz is that Jazz fans get so possessive of the young guys on this roster. Guys like Oni don't have a place on this roster. I don't believe that Udoka Azubuike has a place on this roster. I just don't see him playing. I don't see a guy like an Elijah Hughes playing. I mean, those are cleanup guys. Those are 5-7 minutes when you're up 30 points. Those are not, hey, it's the second quarter, we need a bucket. Let me put Elijah Hughes in.
Yeah.
They like Trent Forrest in. Mia Oni in. Those guys don't have a place in this team.
But isn't that the development of the roster now? Because last year they did.
Well, yeah, and I would agree you are deeper. I'm still not sold on the idea that the Jazz bench is all of a sudden, 5 guys deep and it's unbelievable.
Well, here's the thing. Quinn never plays 5 guys off the bench.
He doesn't.
And
he doesn't.
And so I don't think the Jazz need to be 5 deep on the bench. Would it be great if they were? Sure, but the fact is Quinn's going to play a starting 5 and he's going to rotate maybe 3 guys into that mix to backfill. So if you're looking at this, you've got those 3 guys. You've got Jared Butler, you've got Hassan Whiteside, and you've got Eric Paschall. You've got your 3 guys right there. Those are going to be the 3 guys that get the lion's shares of the minutes coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Like that's just what it's going to be. And so don't be surprised when Jared Butler is being talked about on this show as a potential, like 6th man of the year candidate sometimes when he had a 25-point performance and he popped off. Like that's going to happen this season for him. Like not all the time, but he'll be in those conversations when he's on SportsCenter after he had some ridiculous night, right? So like that's why I say this team, you don't have to worry about Elijah Hughes and Doak and all these guys sitting at the end of the bench warming up their seat, right? You ain't got to worry about those guys. You got to worry about the starting 5, and then you got to worry about Hassan Whiteside, Jared Butler, and Eric Paschall. Past that, you're not worrying about anybody because those are the 8 guys you're going to play and live or die with. That's just what I truly believe is going to happen this year.
Yeah, I think you're going to probably – the one guy that's on that bench that has the potential to see any kind of significant – consistent minutes, 10 minutes or more, I think is probably Oni, just because of his defensive body. But he in my mind does not bring you very much offensively. So I don't know. I think this is largely the same rotational type team it was last year. I don't know what's going to happen with Rudy Gay. I worry about his age. I worry about already having surgery on his lower body.
Well, like, what kind of timing is that? That's still kind of...
Oh, it's brutal.
It still kind of pokes me.
It's brutal. Because he's never going to have played a preseason game for you the first time he ever suits up.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that I think is really important because he has a very diverse skill set. He can play the 3-4-5. He can hit jump shots, and he can defend those positions as well. I think those are the questions that I have about this team. The Rudy Gobert jump shot is a revelation. If he does that consistently, this changes the fortune of the Jazz. Now, does that mean that they can win a championship with him? I'm still not convinced of that. I need to see what that total package looks like. And I'm telling you, you have got to find a solution for the way teams are going to scheme Rudy Gobert out of the paint,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to do it. You can see it with Brook Lopez. And by the way, the other thing that I think you're seeing is Rudy Gobert is going to have to play more in control with his emotions. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up here. The one thing that I would say negatively about Rudy is he still gets frustrated, especially with, like, Pat Connaughton was guarding him last night. Rudy got very lucky that they did not call him for throwing an elbow into Pat Connaughton. He tends to lose his emotion in significant moments. And that's one of those things. We saw it in Philly last year. And what we've seen is Donovan Mitchell has really curtailed that. Since that ejection, we've seen Donovan really bring that way down. Rudy's gone up from there, not down. And I think it's one of those things, because Rudy, he gets fouled and commits fouls on every single play. He's a guy that guys are going to bang off the screen and roll. You are seeing that guys are putting multiple bodies on him in the box out. Rudy if you watch Rudy Gobert closely, he's a jersey grabber. He's a guy who will hold your jersey so you can't jump. And then he's a guy who, when he has his back to the basket, knows that that's not comfort for him. So you're going to see him box out those elbows and swing his elbows around to seal guys.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gets called for offensive fouls, he gets really pissed off.
Yeah. And
it's something he's going to have to really work to curtail, because those little things make a huge difference. All right, let's get some of your comments in here. Neville93, what's up? First one in. He says, good morning, guys. What a game that Utah Jazz had. Oh, my gosh, that was fun to watch. And Butler kicking butt. Yeah, for sure. Brylark says, yo, what's up, boys?
Hello.
Brylark, good morning to you. Regular Life says, yo.
Hello.
What's up, Regular Life? James Knight says, how smooth was Jingles last night? Yeah, I thought his ability to high five and smack ass on the bench was pretty incredible.
Don't you know who I am?
I mean, as a guy who didn't play a single minute last night and really contributed nothing, I mean, he was as smooth as silk, man. I agree. That's a great point. Austin Hibbler says, Rudy has made jump shots in games before. I usually only see a couple attempts a year, though. Would be nice to see a lot more. I've never seen him shoot it that comfortably. I've never seen him shoot it that comfortably.
Does this call for a major bag alert? I mean, I know it's the preseason, so I
No,
don't want
it
to get ahead of
doesn't.
myself.
It doesn't.
No?
No.
Okay, all right.
It just knock it off.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you want to play bag alert. I mean, my bag is major. That's why you can always play it, and it's it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, my point is, Austin Hibbler says that Rudy's made jumpers before. I've never seen him look that comfortable.
No, he took that in rhythm.
He caught and shot in rhythm comfortably.
Yeah.
I've never seen Rudy do it that comfortably before. But Austin, I know you're right. He's hit jumpers before, but
Well, and we don't watch Jazz games, so like we could have.
that's a good point. That's good. We don't watch Jazz games. Regular Life says, went to the bathroom and a cucumber fell out. My grandpa started laughing and said, "Got ya." His pranks are getting out of control. Okay, so Regular Life's going to be that guy because he's already got a filtered comment too. So okay. Kenny says, interestingly, the play after the mid-range, Rudy got the ball again in the mid-range. Coach Q even told him to shoot, but he got scared and did some weird post move and turned the ball over. Instead of shooting the jumper, and I know the exact play that Kenny's talking about. Yeah. Instead of shooting the jumper, he put the ball on the floor and tried to attack the basket and turned it over.
I just don't understand why Rudy in the preseason doesn't just take a bunch of shots. Who cares? It's the preseason. That's the whole point of the game.
Greg Hawkins says, hello again, fellows.
Hello, Greg.
Always appreciate you being here, Greg. Gabe Ledley is still cold chilling. He says, it's still the preseason, right? Checks the calendar. Yeah, okay. Wow. Okay. By the way, speaking of Gabe Ledley, how about the Phoenix Mercury last night?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man.
How about my girl, Sophie Cunningham, bro? She broke some people off last night.
Is she a school teacher now?
No.
Well, then you're not going to date her because you only date school teachers.
It's quite simple, so I don't know why motherfuckers be overcomplicating it.
That's what I'm saying. James Knight says, you guys really do overemphasize Rudy's offensive game. They are desperate for him to contribute something other than a dunk. You will see. If he makes that 15-foot jump shot consistently, he's going to become a weapon. It unlocks so many things for them.
What Joel Embiid brings to the Sixers.
Yeah, Brandon Whiteside says, Whiteside's looking like he is starting to get how the Jazz play. Rudy and Whiteside are going to be scary for the league. Well, I mean, they are kind of a yin and yang now. I mean, this is one of the things that Quinn's going to have to figure out is how to play Rudy Gobert and Hassan Whiteside together. That'll be interesting. I never say his name normally. Is Snyder going to be willing to run plays to get Rudy a jump shot a few times a night during the regular season? I don't know. Do you do that?
I don't know that you intentionally run sets to get him a jumper because, frankly, that's not high percentage offense, as I like to call it. But I do think that what's going to happen is Quinn is going to say, hey, when you get the ball, because you're going to see a lot of jumpers come from the pick and roll game. So, like,
Yes.
when you get the ball in certain situations, Rudy, and you're at the free throw line or the elbow or anywhere in that mid-range area, if you have a look, take the shot. Like, take the shot, because the only way you're going to get more comfortable with that is by shooting it. And I think in order for Gobert to not feel that anxiety about shooting the ball, because I don't blame him for feeling the anxiety, right? I mean, this is a whole new thing for him, honestly. Like, I'm not even hating on the guy. It is a new thing in his game.
Yes.
So the idea that he would be comfortable with it already is definitely far-fetched. Was he comfortable with the one he made? Yes, he was. But he also took that in rhythm and knocked it down. But when, you're playing OKC next Wednesday and you get that opportunity, is he going to hesitate or is he just going to take the shot?
And what's going to happen the first time he bricks one?
Yeah, and so the point I was getting to is it's when we talk about Quinn and what he needs to do behind the scenes, Quinn has got to be on the same page with Rudy, and Quinn needs to be telling Rudy, hey, when you get the opportunity, take the shot. There's nothing wrong with that. Take the shot, and I'll reel you in if you're taking too many. That's what it has to be.
Barry says you guys are on the struggle bus to say anything nice about Rudy Gobert. Why don't you just move on?
What struggle bus is that,
like,
dude?
What?
Help me understand what we're struggling with.
I'm just curious. What are we struggling with? I think this is as celebratory as I've ever been.
Yeah.
Or as I have ever felt about anything that Rudy Gobert has ever done.
We're not moving on from Rudy Gobert. Gobert is going to decide if they win a championship or not. Is everyone on the same page? Can we just get this out right now? You guys realize winning a championship has nothing to do with Donovan Mitchell, right? You get that. Don's going to give you what he's going to give you every single night, and that's what makes him Donovan Mitchell.
He's always going to get his.
Championship basketball is decided by your not role players, because Rudy's not a role player, but you get my point. Your secondary guy. How good is the second guy?
I think if you look back over time, it is always somebody else. Steve Kerr and Hansen or Bobby Hansen or whoever you want to point to with the Bulls. It's always that second guy.
It's PJ Tucker stopping Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I mean, it is those guys that do the little intangible things. Rudy Gobert's 15-foot jump shot is a significant little thing.
Why do you think we spend so much time talking about his offensive game? You ever stop to think about that? Why does everyone talk about it?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I agree with that.
It's important.
And Spencer Morgan says Snyder needs to find a way to utilize Bogey. I agree.
Yeah.
Your Amino says Rudy can hit threes. No kidding. He's hit 9 threes in a row in a scrimmage. But you don't want Rudy shooting threes. See, and this is the thing that you have to understand something. Every three-pointer that Rudy Gobert takes away from somebody else that's a high percentage, 37 to 40% three-point shooter. Do you want Rudy Gobert or Joe Ingles shooting a three? Rudy or Bogey? Rudy or Conley? Rudy or Don? Rudy or
Jared Butler?
Jordan Clarkson? You don't want Rudy shooting threes. That's why I always say
Rudy or Royce O'Neal.
Rudy Gobert. I don't understand. And that's another conversation though. Like, this guy tried to get into my ass yesterday on YouTube about how he said that the Jazz need to upgrade Royce O'Neal.
They do.
He's an elite defender. He shoots the three. He is a key contributor in the playoffs. He scored 7 points a game.
And got torched by Paul George.
And he's a key contributor?
Come on, guy.
I want Rudy Gobert to shoot 15-foot jump shots 2 or 3 times a game.
I want it.
Not 10 or 11. That's what... And this is the thing that I hope we've talked through this well enough at this point. Rudy doesn't need to be a 30-point-a-night guy. He just needs to be 20 points on something other than a dunk. That's it. Because he's still going to get his dunks.
20 and 20 every night.
But if the guy just shoots a 15-footer for 4 points a night, man, you're in so much better shape. You have a lot more space in the paint. You don't have the Valanciunases of the world. You don't have the Ivica Zubac's of the world, the Batums of the world, leaving Rudy Gobert 10 feet open at the top of the key because they know he'll never shoot it. He needs to shoot that shot.